Hello and welcome to Policy Watch, a packed snapshot of the week's biggest business stories, their context, their relevance and impact. I'm Govind Raj Ethiraj. Make in India has got a renewed push both at Davos and shortly in India as the US President Barack Obama comes visiting. What does this mean given all the constraints that exist for the manufacturing sector in India, particularly when it comes to new infrastructure that has not come at the speed that we wanted to? Let's understand this a little bit better with Venugopal Doot, Chairman of the Videocon Group, and also joining me here is Akshay Mathur, Geoeconomics Fellow and Head of Research at Gateway House. Thank you very much for joining us. Mr. Doot, let me begin with you. So we've obviously now raised the decibel level. We are talking about it. We are making presentations to industry leaders from all over the world in Davos and shortly in India. Are we suitably prepared on ground to deliver on the promises that we are making?
Yeah, we are quite doing all the things to deliver the promises we are making will not be broken. But people have to believe it, and that belief sort of thing will be, we say, proof of pudding is in eating, like that. We will have to now show that India means business, and whoever foreigners are coming, there is a red carpet treatment to them, and it has to be successful because previous government, by anything, they have done the mistakes, whether they have done inadvertently or what, but serious mistakes they have made of annoying foreigners, like retrospective legislation, cancellation of license, etc., etc. So many things they have done. And foreigners have lost confidence in India, and that confidence has to come. So many times we convince them. Now Barack Obama is also coming, but that will be a political thing. Person who is investing in India, he has to get a confidence, and to give that confidence, time will take. But only one thing I will say you, that you have to judge not where you are, but by the direction where you are. So direction is going good. It will take time. How much time it will take, it's difficult to say. Maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year. But once that confidence in India comes, at that time foreigners will come. Now talking about what is India, India is geared up for Make in India policy because we have everything. We have got best of the judiciary, best of the bureaucracy and best of the political systems to do all these things, and also having a great infrastructure and lot of young labor force. So this kind of Make in India is a good idea given by our Honorable Prime Minister, and for that India is geared up, and even if the foreign money doesn't come it so easily, India has got their own money, GDP growth is there, GDP growth slated now next year will be 6.4% and it is going to 10%. So own generations are also there, and with this Make in India, all the investment will be coming. Bankers are also very, very jubilant to give money for the project, new projects, especially infrastructure projects. And looking at all these things, I am quite hopeful.
I'll come back to a specific question in a moment. Just hold your thought there. Akshay, what's your sense? I mean, if you were to take a step back, I mean, we've renewed the promise, so to speak, or actually we're adding more and more decibel levels to the promise. Are we sort of almost overstretching ourselves here now?
There's no doubt in my mind that having a campaign and putting it into a strategy, even naming it Make in India, I think it's very important because you're talking about a big country, and if the government is serious and if it is their priority, then putting it as a priority and naming it is very, very important. Of course, industry leaders such as Mr. Doot and others are looking for implementation. Some of them have heard words of promise before, and so they want to see action on the ground. And the action on the ground has to be resolved at 2 or 3 different levels. There are some things that the center can do, but the other things are left to the state as well as to the local governments. The industry is looking for better licensing norms so that they don't have to deal with the bureaucracy, or even line managers for electricity, for power, for water connections and so on and so forth. So that horizontal definitely needs to come. But at the central level, of course, we're engaging with the rest of the world, and we want to pull in technology and talent and money, capital, very, very important, wherever we can't get that from within India.
Right. So if you were to put on your, asset manager, Wall Street Journal, Wall Street hat, how would you look at this proposition?
Well, I think I would be looking at India in the long term. United States, in one sense, has done that with many other countries in the world. I mean, one of the basic philosophies of investors from the US and other advanced countries investing in emerging markets is that you will get a better return, a higher return for higher risk.
Right.
So I think I would look at India in that sense, where risk may be reducing a little bit, whereas there's a better promise for return now. So I think I will relook if I was an investor.
That's a good point there. Mr. Dhoot, if we were to look at now as a domestic investor, right? So, the proposition has to be as meaty for domestic investors like you as it is perhaps for investors outside the country. How are you seeing things from on the ground? I mean, is this a good time to be increasing capacity, particularly considering that in many industries we're already running at overcapacity?
There are a lot of advantage over here, manufacturing also, service also. Nowadays, service industry also playing very important role. People are investing in service industry also. And manufacturing, although it seems that overcapacity, but when consumption starts, this overcapacity will go in shortages. So it is necessary and expedient now that manufacturing should be geared up for the future demand to come. Demand is certain. I told you that there is a growth of 6.4% next year, and then it will go on up to 10%. So this money going to the people, especially Modi's idea is that money has to go into the hands of the people who are living at bottom of pyramid. These people will start spending, and then suddenly demand will be created. So that's why domestic investors are also keen that they will invest, and now Modi has also said that all single window clearance will be there. There will be no hurdle, no problems for any industry or any sort of trade or industry or any job creation opportunities like service industry. So all this is going to happen, and at this stage India is all set for a great growth in time to come.
And let me add a quick question there. So we've got a union budget coming up. If I were to ask you for those one or two things which will act as the turning points, if indeed that is possible, to make the Make in India proposition a little stronger and ensure that people start, actually bringing in those investment dollars.
Yeah, you must have noted that S&P has already shown that interest that India's rating may go up. So India rating can go up if the fiscal parameter in the budget is placed properly. Just like fiscal deficit is getting controlled at 3.5%, it is quite possible because of the petroleum prices going down, and all our other incomes are also going down and taxation going down. So that will not be a problem. Only in budget, what should be done is that rationalization of all the taxes, and those who are tax givers, they should not be put at any problem under hunch, but tax should be collected properly, and it has to go for the proper spending, not the extraordinary spending.
Akshay, how do you think we can, or rather what are the things that you feel we should be focusing on if we are to sort of bring this investment, assuming there's lots of it waiting for us internally as well as externally, and channel it somewhere, which is really, physically, where could it go and how could it go? In the budget, actually, it seems to me over the years the budget has become more and more of a measure of our accounts in one sense, as it should be,
as it should be, rightly so, and it's a difficult job. So I think that the government will be very focused on just making sure that we're meeting these fiscal targets. The policy indicators have started to now come out through the year in different forms. So I don't know if there are big policy or foreign policy or foreign investment indications that we are going to get from the budget alone. But having said that, last time in the budget they announced, for instance, the National Industrial Corridor Development Authority to be set up in Pune. Now that is a domestic announcement, but it has implications for any foreign investor or country, because they know that this is being taken seriously, and corridors, industrial parks, smart cities, some of these are being taken seriously as an investment platform where different kinds of investors, sovereign wealth funds, businesses, companies, corporations, individual investors can come in and invest in India. Okay. Mr. Dhoot, let me come back to you. So, things take time, right? So, you yourself said that it could be 6 months to a year and so on. What are the things that we need to correct on the ground today before we even sort of, start converting the big promises into reality? What's really pending today? I mean, the key issues or the key hurdles that need to be resolved?
No, no, one thing is there, Prime Minister has already created an atmosphere across the globe. Everybody is India-centric and India interest is huge across the globe. India flavor is developing. India euphoria is also developing. And with this, what we have to do that we have to gear up for our industrial activities, service sector activities, and investment to these sectors should be, I think, encouraged in this budget, and money should be available to them from bank. And there is an indication that interest rate also will be going down, so interest rate has to come down so that the project will be viable. And like that, all these steps, if it is taken, I don't think there should be any problem.
Make in India as a larger proposition, is it helping us on the global stage? I mean, I know it is, but I mean, how are you seeing it? I mean, since from your vantage point as a geoeconomics.
Well, for one thing, if you look at, if you track summits like the G20, now G20's whole mandate last year, when it, and especially culminating in the summit in November 2014, was to invest in infrastructure worldwide and as a means to resurrect growth. And one of the things that they discussed was how do you channel the money from pension funds and some of these other funds around the world, and how do you channel it into productive investments. And so in that sense, Make in India and our just comes in at the right time, because we can tell the world, yes, we are prepared. Let's tell the Australians and the Canadians and the Americans that we are ready for you to invest your long-term capital here. And in that sense, I think it's Make in India campaign comes in at the right time. It also comes in at the right time for us to be able to now start promoting some industries in India which have large-scale job impact. So for instance, some studies have shown that food processing industries, some of the other industries usually hire more people compared to the amount invested. So I think maybe that's another way of using Make in India to really create jobs in large scale.
Right, and that sort of brings me a good segue to the last question. Mr. Doot, one of the larger objectives in a way behind Make in India is obviously job creation, and the Prime Minister has spoken extensively on that too. There's a lot of work going on. There's a National Skills Development Corporation. There are targets. Are you seeing, as someone who runs industry which is obviously getting more leaner and leaner in its manufacturing, the ability to actually increase job creation too, even though you may bring in more investment and produce more goods?
Yeah, there is a demand for job and employment creation will be there in India because of large-scale manufacturing activities will be starting. Service sector is booming like anything. We see the telecom sector, DTH sector, all everywhere people are investing, and all they are also getting employment. One company can give 10 to 20,000 people employment, and you see retail agency. All these, there is the employment is there, and this Make in India, all this circulation of the money and that we say momentum of the money will also be there, and circulation of goods, and everybody will be wanting everything, and in 5 to 10 years time everybody will have everything. Prime Minister has already said that by 2022 nobody will be under BPL, everybody will have his own house and everything they have. So to make that consumption is there, and yes, since the consumption is there, making over India is very easy because we have got a lot of labor force and science and technology, everything we have, and there is a will from the government also that is very essential. So that's why I think that now the time has come for India, that a great growth opportunity with the Make in India, and Make in India will go in such a way that here minimum economical scale of production will be produced, and that minimum economic scale of production will be becoming export competitive also. So India will export also. Nowadays many companies in India, they don't depend only on Indian market, but they become global. They are exporting more than 50% of their production across the globe. So that is why I am quite hopeful that with this momentum and creation of a better atmosphere, this employment generation will be definitely created.
And the potential for a sort of becoming a more export-oriented powerhouse as well, maybe on a little along the lines of China. So last question actually to you, Barack Obama's visit, how do you see that? I mean, I know it's a political visit and maybe only partially an economic visit in that sense, but are you seeing any
Well, we're getting reports that, of course, it's already been reported that the CEOs of both sides will be meeting. So business again makes it front and center. The Americans are very good in making economic a core part of their foreign policy, but now we're seeing Indians also step up and use that. So I think in that sense, there might just be a little bit more attention to business and economics than usual. And business and economics, as you see, are playing an important role when we start talking sectors. And the latest news reports at least indicating that something might happen in energy. And that's also business now. I mean, if something happens in clean energy, it works very well for us. So we get technology, we get to save our environment, we get more power. And of course, if we find a way in which a developed country like US gets to work with a developing country with India, and we find a way to meet in the middle. So I think I'm looking forward to this visit, not just as a symbolic visit, but at least as a leading indicator that we found few areas where United States
some
and
of
India,
them being new ones.
some of them being new ones, where it'll be a USP between US and India, as we have tried to develop with Japan.
Right, and that's a good point. And let the competition begin.
Let the competition
and the games begin. Well, thank you very much to our guests, Venugopal Dhoot and Akshay here. We're going in for a break, but coming up on the other side, we talk about the successful Jan Dhan Yojana scheme crossing the 11.6 crore mark. What does this mean for the banking sector and for those who have opened those bank accounts? That's coming up. Stay with us. You're on Policy Watch.